Welcome to the Arcane Carolinas portion of the Dragon Con American Sci-Fi Classics Track Turkey Day Potluck, which I said correctly the first time through. I'm really pleased with myself. We're going to do a very little editing of this. So I'm really glad I got it right. So Charlie, introduce yourself.
I'm Charlie Mewshaw, co-host of Arcane Carolinas, and I definitely punted to you because I was like, I don't want to have to say that. Hey, can you bring us in?
You're quite welcome. I am Michael G. Williams, award-winning novelist. You can find me at this URL that is in front of me right now. So what are we going to talk about that's related to Turkey Day?
We kicked around a couple of ideas, and it is the American Sci-Fi Classics Track. And we were trying to correlate, like, how does that tie into Thanksgiving for us personally?
Yeah.
I have a lot of memories tied up around the television on Thanksgiving. Not necessarily with science fiction, but it was always you'd sit around with your cousins playing video games while your uncle told you to put football back on. Sometimes you'd watch whatever movie was available if somebody like brought over a tape or whatever. So I was thinking it would be kind of fun to talk about what was the first or favorite, or what sci-fi movie from being a kid stands out to you in your memory?
Great. So would you like to go first or shall I?
I'll go first.
Yeah, have a ball.
So Flight of the Navigator was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I love that movie. It's actually on Disney Plus now, which is awesome because it was kind of hard to get a hold of for a couple of years. We had it on Betamax. We taped it off of the Disney Channel, and I wore the tape out, watching that over and over and over. Are you familiar with that one?
I am not at all.
So it's got Paul Rubens does the voice of the alien AI. Sarah Jessica Parker is the intern at the top secret NASA facility. It's a very interesting cast. So those are the two like celebrities in the cast, and the rest of the cast is totally normal looking and acting people. Like, it's, as a kid, you're watching it and you feel like this could happen to me. Like, it's awesome.
That's fabulous.
It's a little boy, and he basically gets abducted by an alien drone ship as a specimen for study. And due to time dilation, when it tries to bring him back, it's 8 years later and he has not aged a day.
Ooh.
So he's like, he gets abducted by the alien ship, which I mentioned, it's a drone ship, and Paul Rubens does the voice. You wouldn't even know it's Paul Rubens until they do a bit where he's like, laugh, and he does the Pee Wee Herman laugh. And it's awesome, which I'm not going to try to do right now because I can't do it. I can't do it justice.
Fair enough.
So on the ship, there's all these cool Muppets, not official Jim Henson Muppets to my knowledge, but, you know, like alien puppets. There's this giant eyeball, and it goes, "Aye!" And it's really cool. And there's this little snot creature that is disgusting, which is my number one memory from that movie. Is the snot creature was scary and disgusting to me as a kid. It looks like a slug if you put salt on it. Not that that's a good idea, but that's what it looks like. And then there's a little cute puppet that winds up being like the kid's alien buddy, not in a Mac and Me kind of way, but more like it's not.
Thank God.
It's not that bad. But the kid winds up keeping it once they figure out how to get him back to his time, and winds up keeping it as a friend. It's got some early CG that actually looks really good. The spaceship is early CGI, and it's awesome. It looks like a Nerf Turbo football if it was made out of chrome, and it like can change shape. And I don't know, for me, that movie, it hits all the right notes. It's got accessible, normal people behaving in a way that kind of makes sense. Like, it's not overblown and super dramatic. It's got cool technology. It's of course got the monochrome monitors in the top secret NASA facility where they're like probing the kid's brain, which is disturbing in itself.
Yeah.
But his thoughts and what's in his brain appears on the monitor somehow, because the aliens implanted intel into his head that can talk directly with the computer. It's really squishy. The science is really squishy, but it's fun. It's got time travel, alien puppets, Paul Rubens. There's a joke about I don't leak, you leak. Because the kid's like, I got to take a leak. He's like, what is take leak kind of thing. I don't understand. And yeah, great movie. Flay the Navigator. That's my go-to for early childhood. Loved it. Science fiction movie.
Nice. I think that for me, a classic science fiction movie, I'm going to be pretty broad in my definition of science fiction here, but I'm pretty sure that the American Sci-Fi Classics Track folks are into this movie. A big, huge, enormous part of childhood for me was The Wizard of Oz. I happened to not know that there were books. I had seen the movie The Wizard of Oz because when I was a really little kid, it used to play once a year, every year, I think on CBS, but I don't remember now. And we would always watch that. That was a big deal. And then in fourth grade, I found out that there were books of Oz and read The Land of Oz and Ozma of Oz. And then when I was in fifth grade, I think, was when Return to Oz, the movie, came out. And so like got taken to see that and loved it as a kid, love it now. Really, really important movies in like my fandom, my young fandom sort of development. And The Land of Oz, The Wizard of Oz is just like a phenomenal movie. Obviously it's a classic, everybody knows it. But The Return to Oz, a lot of people didn't like because it's a really grim, sort of foreboding and creepy and scary movie, except that the original is a foreboding and creepy and scary movie by the standards of its time. And the books are super foreboding and scary and creepy. And the movie is kind of a dialed back version of those two books in a lot of ways.
Yeah. The books are even the illustrations in the books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big time. And part of why I thought of The Land of Oz, or The Return to Oz and The Wizard of Oz, especially for our podcast, is that we talk about the weird. And one of the things that is experienced frequently in sightings of the weird or the supernatural or the unexplained, and this is true for everything from Sasquatch to UFOs to ghosts to you name it.
We got it all.
It's everything. We're in a big clearinghouse now. Everything strange. A lot of times people, when they experience it, they will also report something that is called, and now I have to look up the name to make sure I'm getting the name right, the Oz factor. The Oz factor is a term that was first used in 1983 in a book called UFO Reality by a British UFO researcher named Jenny Randalls, very well-known British UFO researcher. And she noted that some UFO witnesses experienced this, what she called a sensation of being isolated or transported from the real world into a different environmental framework. And the idea being that, you know, people will be on a busy street and they'll look up and see a UFO and they have an experience, and then they look back down and they realize that nobody else reacted to it. And for the period of time that they were experiencing this, they didn't notice anybody else hear other sound, anything. People will be walking through the woods. Everything will fall totally silent in the woods around them. They'll get this sense that like the air stops moving and stirring, and they'll just sort of like everything freezes. They see Sasquatch goes away, everything unfreezes, and they come back.
We did not coordinate. We did not share what our stories were. No. That's what happens in Flight of the Navigator, the kids in the woods.
No way.
Yeah, he like wrecks his bike, and yeah, it's a whole thing.
Oh, okay. See, because I've never seen it, I had no idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the Oz
crossover.
The Oz factor, it's right there. And it's in a ton of stuff that we talk about. And in our upcoming UFOs episode, I talk about an experience that I had. But when that happened, we very much experienced the Oz factor of just like everything stopped and we had this experience and then it came back.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. I will wholeheartedly agree that the artwork for the Wizard of Oz books is very creepy.
I love those books.
Have you ever seen the slippers at the Smithsonian? How they have the original?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a must see for me.
Totally.
They have the slippers, and I don't know. I just love that museum. So
yeah, that's a great museum. And as a kid being there, I really like had that sense of like I am next to an object that has been imbued with power by our culture's investment in it. You know,
the Peanuts lunchbox that I had as a kid is also in a pop culture display there. which is really funny. Yeah, it's like it's a tin yellow Peanuts lunchbox with Charlie Brown on the pitching mound throwing a pitch.
Mhm.
And my dad would always point it out. He'd be like, "That's your lunch. That was your lunchbox." And I'd be like, "Yeah, it was. That's pretty cool." I have no idea if that's still part of a display because that feels like a much more temporary thing. The American lunchbox. I don't know. So Arcane Carolinas, we cover all the topics that you mentioned. And if you have not heard us before, check us out. We're on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio,
Google Podcasts, all that stuff.
Amazon
Stitcher,
Music.
you name it.
Yeah. Even Amazon Music. You can talk to your Alexa, play the latest episode from Arcane Carolinas. I really hope that messes with somebody's dot as they're watching this.
You never know.
And if you want a sticker, I'm happy to mail you stickers for free. We have stickers and little 1-inch buttons, and we'll drop those in the mail to you at absolutely no cost to you. Just give us an email, Mewshaw, blah, blah, blah. No, edit
I'll cut that part.
That was where I said my personal email address instead of the podcast one.
That's really funny.
I am sorry to have to make you edit.
No, that's okay.
Email us at arcanecarolinas@gmail.com, and we'll turn that around within a week to you for free.
Yeah. And if you want, I don't know, books. Well, I'm so good at marketing. If you're interested in books by me, then hit that link.
Y'all want some books?
This is where I open my trench coat and have a bunch of paperbacks inside it. Yeah, exactly. And now we return you to the rest of the Dragon Con American Sci-Fi Classics Track Turkey Day Potluck.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Sorry to step on you. Do you want to do that again?
No, I'm good.